Hey y'all, this is She Buys It with Whitney Nicely.
Yay! Hello, everybody. You're going to love this episode of the She Buys It podcast. Moneeka Sawyer is with me today, and she is an amazing, blissful real estate investor, and I love chatting with her. We spent the weekend together in Napa Valley last May, and I've been on her podcast I think twice. We just have a blast together, and this woman is a wealth of information, so y'all are going to super duper enjoy this episode. Please welcome Moneeka Sawyer. Say hello.
Well, thank you for having me.
Is there anything I missed that you want me to make sure I mention? Moneeka runs the Real Estate Investing for Women podcast.
Right. Real estate investing for women. I've been on TV, I've been on stages, and I go by the Blissful Millionaire.
That's right. And she's definitely blissful. And you'll need to see a picture of her Pomeranian. Is it Pomeranian?
Yep. His name is Pomfret.
And he is very blissful as well. Awesome. So, Moneeka, tell me, I want to talk about your first deal, but I also want to clarify that you're in a totally different world than I am because you're in California and in the San Francisco area of California, which also is a different world than Knoxville, Tennessee.
Right.
The prices are different. The sellers are different. The market is different. And everybody wants to talk about being in a hot market, but you are literally in the hottest market that I know of. So I want to talk about your first deal. And before you even got your first deal done, what made you interested in real estate investing?
Yeah, thank you for asking that question. So, and I don't think you've actually heard this story, so I'll tell you my story, okay?
Tell me.
So my parents are immigrants from India, and they actually came to the United States with $200 in their pocket. And they had heard that the golden ticket to wealth in the United States is to buy real estate. So they came to America. They were brandly newlywed, like literally 2 weeks. And they decided they were going to buy real estate because they came here for opportunity, right? This is the land of opportunity. And they were going to do it. So they started buying real estate. They had me. I was their very first child.
I don't want to date your parents, but when did they come?
1967.
1967. So before the internet, before everything was as easy as it is. It's not easy now, but it was definitely more complicated and a slower process in 1967.
And they didn't know anybody.
And they were immigrants. And $200, did they speak English?
They spoke English. Both of them had lived in London, so they spoke English.
Awesome.
And they had really good minds and really good motivation, but they didn't have any help. It was them against the world. As newlyweds, they didn't even really have each other yet, right?
Right.
Just kind of imagine that picture and what it took for them, the guts.
That's brave.
Right? So fast forward now, 15 years, they bought their very first rental property when I was 3 years old.
Awesome.
And it was to give me the life they wanted for me.
Oh.
Yeah. And so isn't that sweet?
That is sweet.
Yeah.
And I think that's what a lot of parents want is they want that generational wealth. They want that legacy. They want to give their kids a leg up. And I don't have kids and you don't have kids either, do you?
No.
So there's some other reasons to do some real estate investing, but that's the reason I think a lot of moms especially want rental portfolios.
Exactly. And I'll tell you, and as we get in the story, you'll discover kind of why I wanted to invest in real estate. But anyway, so dad pays for my college education. He pays for my two sisters' educations. And when I graduated from college, it was in 1991. That totally dates me. I'm an old lady. But
It's okay.
But anyway, so I graduated in 91 and the economy was a nightmare. I graduated from Haas Business School at UC Berkeley and I couldn't find a job.
Oh.
And so I did finally get a sales position, and I remember being really scared about money. Here's one thing, and I know you can relate to this, Whitney, is that I did not want to be dependent on a man.
Amen.
I did not want to get married to somebody because I needed someone taking care of me.
Louder, please.
Independent, right? So, and at that point I hadn't made a decision whether I was having kids or not, but really I needed to know that I could take care of me.
Yep.
I was scared. I couldn't even get a job. And I remember I was having a conversation with my dad one night, and he said something to me that changed my life. He said, you know, Moneeka, everybody has stress, everybody has fear, and everybody has money problems. Do you want poor people money problems, or do you want rich people money problems?
Oh, wow. Your dad is brilliant.
Right? It changed everything. And, you know, for me,
that gives me chills just thinking about it, because it's so true.
It is.
Everybody's going to have money problems, but I would rather have the rich people money problems.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Sure. Well, and people think that rich people don't have money problems.
Oh, they do.
Everybody does. Right? So, yeah. And so, so I decided I was going to have rich people money problems. But you know that I'm all about bliss. And so I wanted to get rid of the problems. Now, we can't get rid of the challenges. Real estate is like anything else in life. It has its challenges. It has its ups and downs. But I wanted to create that blissful way of doing business. So there were less problems. And when the problems happened, I was more capable of handling them in a blissful way. So that's kind of how I built my business and why. Does that make sense?
I love it. I absolutely love it. So you graduated in 91.
Mm-hmm.
And the market was terrible, but did you go get a job and then start investing, or how did you get started there?
Yeah. So I did get a job, and I met my husband, and for our wedding, we got a $10,000 gift. So we bought a house.
Okay.
As opposed to a sofa or a car or what most people do, right? Like we didn't do the big honeymoon, right? We bought a house and we put 3% down. And we moved into this tiny little place that was so overpriced. You know, California has always been overpriced. Even in a bad market, it's overpriced, right? And so in those days, it was a $200,000 home, which was so overpriced. That one now is worth 1.2, just so you know.
Woo! You still got it?
I don't, but that's okay. We sold it for a really, really, really good profit. So anyway, so we bought it for 3% down. And my husband was not into real estate at all. When we were ready to move up to the next home, he was kind of like, sell. And I was like, no, let's hold this thing, right? We were $10,000 in, like we hadn't put much money in at all. It had appreciated $150,000 by then. No, it had appreciated so that we could pull out $150,000. We used that $150,000 to buy our next home.
Nice.
So there was no cash that came out of pocket for the next purchase.
Nice. I love that. And you can still do that today. We don't have to go back to the 90s to be able to do that.
Right. That's right. And, you know, this is the thing that I tell my people all the time is that the very first thing you need to do is own your own home, because it's the easiest home to get into. You need the least money down. You can get a second on it to buy the next place or 10 places, which is what I ended up doing later, right? But you have to own your home first, because that's the easiest entry into real estate.
I also think it makes the most sense for women, because we naturally walk into a house and say, okay, can I nest here?
Exactly.
Do I want to plant roots here? Now, I'm not speaking from personal experience, because I've got 14 houses, a condo, and a trailer, and I live in my mom's rental house. So what I'm saying is I understand women like to buy their own primary first, but I am the exception to the rule on that, I guess. Yeah. I've also seen a lot of women, though, that their greatest stress in life is making sure they're going to make that mortgage payment next month.
Mm-hmm.
But you're saying get it and own it free and clear, so you don't have to worry about that mortgage payment. You can pull out a line of credit against the house and use that to scale up and grow.
That's right.
And
your primary residence, the government really supports you on getting that. You get tax write-offs. I had to put 3% down. Like literally, I am worth multiple millions of dollars now. And I started with a $10,000 investment that wasn't even mine.
Yep.
Right? Like, where can you do that? And the very first thing for me was just to buy a place to live instead of paying rent.
Yep.
I pay my mortgage. I get a write-off. I can pay that down. And then over time, I leveraged that into many other properties.
Well, I also want to point out that you said you didn't go on a big honeymoon. You didn't buy a couch. You didn't buy a car. And in the 90s, we didn't have Instagram and all the influencers telling us how to live big and actually be broke. So what you did was really smart.
Right.
And it's really hard to do that these days. I mean, celebrities have always been around, right? But they weren't so accessible, showing us how to blow our money. I would love for more women and more newlyweds and fresh college graduates to buy houses instead of a new car.
I'm so with you, Whitney. And this is what one of the things that I just love about you is that you're influencing those women, right? They're like, because you're right, they see all these things that they think they should be having. And this was true in my generation too. This has always been true. Making good choices early on changes everything. Just think about that. $10,000 that went into a house. Now look at the lifestyle that I have.
And it doesn't have to happen in your 20s because a lot of women don't realize they need this. Like it happened for us in our 20s that we realized we needed a portfolio, and that's awesome. But a lot of the women I'm working with and I'm helping that you're talking to that are out there investing now are in their late 30s.
I'm with you.
And 50s. And so I just want to also point out that you don't have to go back to your 20s.
No.
Keep your daughters for sure, but just start where you are right now.
Mm-hmm. I always tell people there's never a good time to start in real estate and there's never a bad time to start in real estate. You just have to start at some point wherever you are with whatever you've got. And that's one of the things you've taken my class too. So you know the very first thing that I talk about is who are you? What are your resources? What do you want?
Absolutely.
From there, we decide what kinds of strategies we're going to utilize, how we have to do things to get to our goals, right? All of those things, right?
Yep, absolutely. So you put $10,000 down, you bought this house, you kept it, it raised in value, and you pulled money out in a home equity line of credit or something similar. I have a lady right now in Apartment Blitz who just pulled out her home equity line of credit, and she's already closed on one duplex and she's under contract with another duplex. So it's the same plan that you just talked about. She had her house paid off that they've had for 20 years, and she just decided now's the time. Pulled out her money, bought a duplex. She's buying the duplex right next door for half price.
Wow.
First deal done. So the second deal is always easier than the first deal.
Absolutely.
Moneeka's in Apartment Blitz, so she can tell you about that too. But I love that plan. So tell me how you went from pulling your HELOC to getting the next deal and the next deal. And I also want to talk about your husband in this too, because is he involved in investing with you now?
No, well, he is now a little bit, but really it is my thing. And Whitney and I kind of laugh a little bit about, yeah, I'm the one that made us rich, right?
I made us 10 years later rich. He might be making the grocery payments right now. But I'm definitely the one that's going to retire him.
That's true, right? Like David pays the bills and I am paying for our future. I will be the one that retires us. And so it's and we made that agreement very early on. But yeah, so what ended up happening is, so we took an equity line out, we bought our new home, we upgraded to something beautiful. Within a year, it appreciated. Again, I pulled out more money and then I started investing from that one home. So that second one with that equity line, I bought 10 homes.
Awesome.
I know, right? So I just was putting the down payments down and then I was getting loans on the other homes.
So you had 1 and then 2 and then 10.
Right.
I don't know how that math works, but I love it.
Yeah. Exactly.
1, 2, 10.
Yeah.
That's perfect. I love that.
Yeah. And it was interesting because my husband was sort of like, what are we doing? He didn't grow. He's a software programmer. He comes from a whole family of people with really good jobs. They don't really understand entrepreneurship. You know what I mean? And so there was a lot of conflict with the two of us. Now, of course, he's like, you were so right. Thank you. And he is a sweet, loving, supportive guy. Yeah, exactly.
Finally.
he visits my tenants when I travel a lot for business, right? Because like I said, I talk a lot in a lot of different places. So when things happen, he's often willing to go check things out, talk to the tenants, stuff like that. So he's really, really helpful now. But for a long time, it was all me,
Yep.
you know?
Yep. Oh, I understand. So these 10 houses, you used the money to put down on it and you got mortgages. So that's awesome. What are these houses like? Are they multi-units or where are they and what
I
you
do
got going
all
on?
single family homes. So, and this is where I'm different from you. So I do all single family homes and I do all A grade. So I have executive homes. Every single home that I own, I would live in. And, here's the thing is you don't, I love that face. I actually advise people don't do that.
Do as I say, not as I do.
Which is what you're doing too, right? But
Sometimes, yeah, because I buy houses that I would live in. If the ox was in the ditch, I would go live in those houses. If something came down to it, I would go live in those houses. But I don't buy houses on purpose that I would live in. That's why I still live in my mom's rental house.
Right. And for me, I guess I'm kind of like that. Like every house that I buy, I would live in. It doesn't mean that they would be the ideal place for me to live in. They're in a good enough area that I wouldn't be scared to live there. You know what I mean?
I quit buying ugly, sad houses a long time ago. I want happy houses and happy neighborhoods.
Yeah. And that's kind of my thing. It's got to be a good neighborhood. Because, here's the thing. This is our secret sauce, right? This is Moneeka's secret sauce.
Ooh.
Don't ever buy a place where you are not going to enjoy the tenants that you have to have.
Well, this is where we're going to differ too, because Moneeka hangs out with her tenants and like goes to barbecues with them and like visits them on holidays and stuff. And I avoid my tenants so much. I even tell them when they're signing their lease, like, you might never see me again.
Yeah.
Don't bother me. I won't bother you.
And some of them absolutely love that, right? Yeah. And you're right. Like, and I don't necessarily recommend being best friends with your tenants. There still has to be like a business line. Like they've got to know that if they don't pay rent, I'm still going to kick them out. Right. But I like all my tenants. And for me, that makes my business more blissful.
Yes.
And I know that if there's ever problems, these are people that I can respect. They'll respect me back. But I buy houses that those kinds of people would want to live in.
Right.
That's how I make my decisions. So yeah, I do executive homes because I live in executive homes.
I love it.
So yeah, that's how I make those decisions.
I love it. And with the executive homes, you get a higher price monthly payment, don't you?
That's true. That's true. And this is an interesting conversation. And I know you and I have talked about this too, Whitney, is that you can have 100 doors making, $200 per door, or you can have 10 doors making $1,000 per door. Now, when one of those per month is what I'm talking about, one of those, if one of my 10 goes vacant, you've got 10% vacancy. But because of my systems, I'm only ever vacant for about a week. So you're not as diversified, but it's such an easier business to manage because I've only got 10 people or 6 people to deal with,
I have almost 50 tenants. And when people tell me that they want 100 doors, I'm just thinking, best of luck to you, baby.
Yeah, right?
Because I remember having 50 and I had to come down from 50 because there's just too many people.
It's too many people. It's too much. Even if you've got management companies, you've got a lot to deal with, right?
Yeah.
So,
and
yeah.
It's a full-time job. And I got into real estate investing to come out of working a full-time job.
That's right. I want to be traveling the world, not dealing with properties.
Me too. I want to hang out in Florida and California and Texas and New York and everywhere else, not have to feel like I'm tied down. I can't leave because somebody's going to call or leave.
That's right. That's exactly right.
That's not blissful at all. That's not the life that you're designing.
Right. And that's such a good point. We are designing our lives. And so don't get so wrapped up in, I got to have 100 doors or, because there are people out there telling you what that you should be thinking and doing and feeling. And if they're not according to who you are, then don't feel, think, and do those things. You design your own life.
And it's going to depend on where you are in life also. And a lot of, we talked about the Instagram influencers earlier, and the YouTubers and all those people. Please remember that those people are 14, 17, 26 years into their building process. You're in year 1. You're in year 3. You're still working your 9 to 5. They're literally getting paid to do those videos and sponsor those jets and collect their rental income. Like, yes, they're great aspirations, but I really like to find somebody that's on, like my level or 2 or 3 steps ahead, and see, is she really living the life I want?
And that's such a really valuable point. One of the things I get asked most, more than anything else, is I need a mentor. How do I find one? And the very first thing that I say is look for somebody who is living the lifestyle you want and who understands, and you say this too, to make sure that they're still in it and that they have been doing it recently. Because if they don't understand what you're going through, they can't support you. And you don't want pie in the sky dreams. And you want to make sure you're not paying somebody to teach you that hasn't done it themselves. Right? So I see you laughing. What are you thinking?
Sheila Britt is one of my favorite girls in the mastermind, and she is in my mentoring program, my year-long program. And she is also friends of yours.
Yes,
and
she is.
She listens to your podcast, and she is amazing. But one of the things that she told me was she actually signed up for another mentoring program before she joined the She Buys It mastermind. And she called her mentor. They had an 800 number. She called. She had a PIN number she had to put in. So they didn't know her from anybody.
Right.
And she had a question about talking to sellers. That was a very, what I would consider basic question, but a good one that needs to be addressed. And she could tell that the person on the other end of the phone had never done a deal. They were just in a call center. And the person on the other end of the phone asked Sheila, said, well, how many people do you have on your buyer's list? And Sheila said, well, I don't have a house under contract yet. And they said, well, you have to have 10 people on your buyer's list before we can answer any questions. And Sheila was like, well, that's frustrating.
Wow.
And so she ended up canceling that because that was her first bad experience. And that's when she found me, or found us, and said, hey, Whit, what you got? And she kind of tested out the waters to make sure that it wasn't going to be the same thing. That when she calls me or when she sends me a message, it's going to be me. And when she schedules her appointment, it's going to be me. And I know her husband's name. I know her dog's name. I know where she is. She's not a number.
Right. Right. And that's so important. You want to make sure you get a mentor that actually cares about you and your life and what you're trying to achieve.
Somebody asked me yesterday if I had a mentor when I started. I was like, yeah, I had 5 before I ever got a mentor, like a quote unquote mentor. I had 5. Who was your mentor when you were getting started?
Me?
Yeah.
My dad.
Your dad?
My dad. He got me going. He talked to me. And because this is the thing that there's so many naysayers, right? We're out there. People are like, real estate is scary. That's a lot of money. You don't know what you're doing, right? There's a lot of stuff. Even me, my husband was sort of like, I don't know, right? So you need someone who can build you up, give you the real story, and can help you through the steps and to get past that fear. So my dad was my very first mentor.
I love that you say that because my mom was my first mentor.
That's so awesome.
And it's so true. But if you don't have that mom or dad or that parent that's already kind of been through it, at least one way, because I invest totally different than my mom does.
As do I.
And that's fine. But teach me what you know so that I can decide for me if that's the route I want to take or not.
Right.
And I tried things her way. It was just too slow.
Right. Yeah, I know. And for me, I was okay with slow, right? But I was not okay with stress, right? So at least you're having a conversation with someone who knows what they're talking about. You're not just at the mercy of everybody's fear, right?
My husband also thought that I was getting taken for a ride. He told me when I came back from my first guru boot camp, when I got my first official mentor, he was like, you've got church camp mentality. It'll never work. You've wasted $15,000 and now it's just not going to happen. And that was the fire that I needed to say, hold my beer and watch this. hold my coffee and watch this.
I love that. I love how we can kind of turn that around, right? If someone says no, we say just watch, right?
Okay, maybe not yet,
Right.
but it will happen.
It will happen. And we have to learn. Education is important. You don't want to go out there solo because you will make a lot of mistakes you don't have to make.
You also take people on, can we call them field trips?
I do. Yes.
Tell us about that.
I've got shopping days.
Yes.
We're actually upgrading to, they're going to be limo shopping days. So we're adding
Baby.
a limousine, wine, sandwiches. So I take people on shopping days and we go out and it's a day in the mind of Moneeka. So you meet my realtor who I've been working with for 15 years. You get to see how we work together, how he picks properties for me, what my parameters are that I give him. We go shopping. We all talk about the different properties. It's really, really fun. And then at the end of the day, I do a recap. Everybody tells me what they think. And then like after I make an offer or whatever, I'll do like a couple of hours where everybody comes together and I tell them whether I made an offer, why, and on what, and what the numbers look like.
I love that. So the first time I did like a tour and took people out shopping, it was on a busted down bus. It was awful. So I love that you were taking people out on limos because I don't do that, but it sounds amazing. And I'm game next time I'm in the area to go shopping with you.
Yes, please, please, please. That would be a total blast.
I also want to talk about this realtor situation because full transparency, I'm the broker for Whitney Buys Houses. I have a license to do this stuff, but I just don't represent other people. And one of my rules when I'm buying houses is I won't work with a seller or on a property that another agent is involved with. I avoid regular realtors like crazy.
Yeah.
So tell me why you prefer working with a realtor and how that works.
Yeah. So my strategy is very different too. You're doing lease options. You're buying things at a discount. I buy everything at retail.
What? How do you make any money?
You do make money. It's my market too. Like where are you investing? Are you investing for appreciation? Are you investing for cash flow? What are you investing for? What are your resources around that, right? For me, I have never wanted to hustle. Like you're such a hustler and you're so good. And I am like, whatever, So I buy retail, but and you and I talked about this too. Even retail, I might make 30 offers. I'm not buying retail. I'm buying off the MLS, but I'm buying a cheaper home. I'll usually buy something distressed, right? Like an REO or something like that.
What is an REO? Is that like an Oreo cookie?
It's like an Oreo cookie, yeah. They're bank-owned properties. They've been repossessed or whatever by the banks, right?
They're foreclosed.
They're foreclosed, right?
Yes.
And so I might buy those properties and I fix them up. I've got a team and then I just put renters in. But I find all of them on the MLS. And the reason that I do that is because I don't want to remember all the rules. I don't want to, my realtor will call me. I might be in Ireland or Greece or Thailand, and he'll call me and say, I found this property that I think you're interested in. Can you look it up on the MLS? I'll do the little virtual tour. Yeah, sure. Make an offer. He makes an offer. I DocuSign. I come back. I've got this new house, but I've got 3 days, right? That I can say yes or no, or we always have contingency so I can get myself out of it. I trust him implicitly. He's been working with me for 15 years. I can be buying and selling properties anywhere in the world, and not just like people say, oh, I run my business anywhere in the world, which means they're sitting on their laptop rather than going out and like being on the beach or scuba diving or skydiving or whatever it is you want to be doing. Right? No, they're actually sitting at their computer. No, I don't sit at my computer. My guy just handles it.
I love that. So you mentioned earlier that women are hesitant to get in over the money and this, that, and the other. But even if you have a representative and a realtor out there working on your behalf and doing the hustling for you, you have 3 days to approve it. You have contingencies built in. So even if you get under contract on something, you're not married to it.
Nope.
And I don't think everybody realizes that. They feel like under contract, must close.
No, there is no must until you get once you sign off your contingencies, then you can still talk yourself out of it, but you shouldn't. Right. I think I've done that once where we found something later on that I was like, you know what, this is not a deal I want to close. And I even got my deposit back.
Your earnest money back?
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. So I like to kind of keep it simple. I like owning property. I like the wealth that it's built for me, but really for me, it's about keeping it as simple as possible and as profitable as possible.
You mentioned a management company. If you've got 10 properties, are you managing them?
I manage them all myself.
You do. What's that like?
So I have systems put in place where, like you said, I get calls from my tenants to come to a barbecue or Merry Christmas or Happy Birthday. I don't get calls from tenants to manage the house. They manage them. So I've kind of set up the whole system so that I don't ever have to manage the properties really, unless something really big happens.
See, that's what I love about my lease options. I let the tenants have the pretty much day-to-day, the leaky toilets, the clogged toilets, the air vents, the dishwasher doesn't work, like all that stuff. Fix it, baby.
Mm-hmm.
It's your puppy.
It's your puppy. And my tenants, I have them act as if it's their puppy. I pay the bills, but they just handle it all. And, there's a whole training process that happens around that so that they keep it in the kind of quality that I want it to stay in, right? So I train them. My tenants all go through training.
I love the training tenants section of real estate because we all know that people are going to treat you the way that you train them to treat you. And if you say, call me all the time with anything and everything that you got, whether you actually say that or you imply that, that's what they're going to do. But if you say like I do, don't bother me, I'm not going to bother you, they say, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you train your tenants?
Basically, it's a conversation, right? When they first come on board, I tell them basically like what you say. I say it a little differently, but basically I'm like, I'm not going to be one of those landlords that's because my people don't have lease options, right? For you, it makes sense for you to say it that way, but these guys, they don't actually own the property, right? So for me, it's all about, I don't want to be the landlord that's breathing down your neck. I don't want to be the person that's the bottleneck when something needs to be fixed. I want you to be able to handle your home as if it's your own home. If you don't want that responsibility, this isn't the kind of place that you're going to want to stay.
Bye.
Yeah.
So I call those, there are different kinds of landlords, different types. And I like to think of helicopter landlords, kind of like helicopter parents. They're always just kind of hovering around. They're the ones that text you and say, hey, you didn't bring your trash can back in. And hey, that fan's running in the middle of the day. And hey, I was in there and just checking on your, and like, they're always around.
Could you imagine spending your life that way?
I don't know how those landlords, I mean, that is the kind of landlord that turns into a tired landlord because they're wearing themselves out, freaking out about somebody else living in their house. Just let it go.
Bring on really good tenants and let them take care of your house.
So
you do your job and then they'll do theirs.
That is something we definitely agree on.
Yeah.
Do you give them a list of your team or preferred contractors if something happens, or they just got to figure it out?
Well, no, sometimes I do. But usually I'll tell them to Yelp. And so there's a whole training, like the first 2 or 3 times, because something always goes wrong with the house. There's no perfect house. The first 2 or 3 times there's an issue, I show them my process. I'll call 3 people on Yelp unless I've got a preferred contractor. I have them come take a look. They give me quotes. So there's a whole conversation. This is part of the training. But then after 2 or 3, they've got it. They know what I do and they'll just do it. And then I get a text, hey, Moneeka, the garage door stopped working. I had somebody come fix it. It was this company. They were the best out of 3 that I checked out. Here's the bill.
Awesome. So do you pay for those bills?
I do pay for the bills because it's my house. They don't own it, right?
But that way you're not in the loop of saying, hey, are you available? Hey, they can come now. Hey, is somebody there? Hey, the dog's still inside.
That's right. The 10 million phone calls that happen for coordination, I'm not involved in.
I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's kind of what gives me my freedom, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm just not involved in all of those extra phone calls. I'm involved if there's something important.
Right. And you're getting the appreciation. You should take the expenses for your taxes too, right?
That's right. That's
It
exactly
benefits
right.
you to write those checks to those contractors, and it didn't cost you anything really.
That's right. That's exactly right. There are times though, like I had one woman, this is horrible, but she tripped and fell through the banister on the it's horrible, on the stairway. And she ended up breaking a leg and breaking two of the things on the banister. And she called me. Now you can imagine what that conversation was like. I mean, first of all, I wanted to show lots of compassion. I mean, obviously she was in a lot of pain, but this was tenant use. I wasn't going to pay for that to be fixed, right? And she totally got that. Like if it was her home, she would fix it, right? Like this isn't something, there was no problem with the house. So she actually paid for that fix. So that's the other thing, is sort of conversations, treating each other with respect, kind of understanding where you're coming from. It really goes a long way for that management piece.
Do you have a money limit that you say, you know, if it's under $50 and it's a regular wear and tear, you take care of it. But if it's something else, it's mine, or you just say it's mine unless it's definitely tenant neglect?
That's exactly what I say. It's mine unless it's tenant neglect. Exactly.
I mean, you didn't try to make her fall.
No, as a matter of fact, I do everything I can not to, you know,
I don't want anybody hurt.
Liability, right? Exactly, right.
I don't want anybody hurt.
That's right. We want to make sure everybody's taken care of.
Yes. And I like to think, even though I'm not buying $1 million properties, I like to think that my places are clean enough and good enough and sturdy enough and nice enough and safe enough that you do want to raise your kids or dogs here.
Right. You want them to feel like this is home. It's not just some transitional place that they hate living.
We were looking at a deal in First Done Fast last week or earlier this week, and we were having a hard time analyzing it because the tenants had a 15-year lease. And
15 years?
Exactly.
Wow.
I, as a buyer, won't buy a place that has a tenant in it, but I'm mostly looking at places that are a year or two leases. I'm definitely not trying to get married to somebody for the next 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
But, and I had to say this too when we were discussing it, I have had tenants, especially in the apartment complexes that Jason and I own together, that have been there for 15 years. But that's because they chose to stay there. It was nice enough. It was clean enough. It was safe enough. And this was their home. It became their home. I've got friends that have had rental houses for 30 years and only had 2 tenants. One for 11 years, one for 18 years. And that lady, unfortunately, her husband passed last year, and now her house is empty, her rental house is empty, and she doesn't know how to manage it. So I love long-term tenants, first of all. That's cool with me. Love it, live in it, make it your home. But I also love speaking with women like you that can maintain and manage their portfolio, because a lot of women are ending up with houses they just don't know what to do with. And she's had this house empty, and it was only $600, so it's not like a huge thing, but $600 would pay for her to do some fun.
That's right. Well, and it's an irritation. You know, it's weighing her down, right? Yes. And yeah, my tenants have all been there over 10 years. Like they just don't leave. And I'm like you, like I don't want a tenant coming with the property because I didn't choose them. I want to make sure that, like you say, if we're going to be in business with them for a long time, I want to choose them. I want to have had that first conversation, you know?
I want to train them to what I'm expecting, because the worst thing you could do is take on somebody else's tenant. I would rather get an empty property with all sorts of problems with it, because I can usually just write a check and fix those. But people problems, you can't just write a check and fix those. Those people are going to have to be gone.
Yeah. And I think in different states, there are different laws. Even if you have a lease, when it sells, often you can actually get them out of the lease. But I don't know if that was not true.
I don't know, but a 15-year lease, like landlords, stop giving 15-year leases. What if you want to sell it in the meantime and somebody else doesn't want to be married to them for the next 15 years?
I can't even imagine.
I can't either. Even like I used to manage I kind of still manage my mom's commercial properties. And these are big, like Fortune 500 companies that are renting buildings from us. They have been in business for a long time and are projected to stay in business for a long time. But I still don't want to be sunk down into a 15-year commitment to these people.
No way. No way. Our whole life is going to be a completely different thing in 15 years.
I can't imagine writing a 15-year lease. I kind of want to renegotiate with myself every 15 months, much less 15 years.
I'm with you. I'm totally with you. Yeah, exactly.
But if you want to stay for 15 years, I just want to renegotiate every year, make sure everything's cool. After 15 years, who knows what my property taxes are going to be? Who knows what repairs are going to need to be done to the house? I just want to be able to come back freely to the negotiating table once a year, once every other year and say, hey, everything's still cool. I'm cool. You're cool. We need to do this, that, and the other. I'll give you this if you pay me that.
It's just good business.
It really is.
Like, seriously, you need to keep your thumb on the heartbeat of your business. And you can't do that if you have no control for 15 years.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you've had tenants there for over 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
That's fantastic, because I thought everybody in California was moving in and out and all around and not staying.
Evidently not in my houses. Who knows? I mean, I do have a couple of houses where they're executives that are traveling. So they have come to the United States from Sony in Japan or Samsung or Facebook or whatever, you know. But so that one of my executive homes, I do a lot of corporate, but they handle a lot of that too. So I don't even worry about it. But all my other homes, no, they're 10. I would say one's been there 10, one has been there 12. Yeah. So
how do you get in contact with big companies like Sony and Facebook and those people that have?
They found me through Craigslist. So yeah. So originally
Craigslist is free, just a reminder.
Yeah. So they found me. And then once you have one executive, all the executives talk. They all see each other at conventions. They have parties together. Executives come to the home, you know. People see, my executive homes, if there's an executive that's like VP director like that, and they have parties with other VPs and directors, my homes never stay vacant for, like I said, like a week turnover. I have a signed contract 3 months before the current tenant even leaves. You know what I mean?
Yep. Because they're looking for good landlords too. As much as we're looking for good tenants, they're looking for good landlords, and those people are interviewing you as much as you're interviewing them. And if they've got word of mouth that says you were amazing,
right,
awesome, now I don't have to worry about that.
That's right.
So
done.
Getting that first deal done opens up all the other doors, but you're saying getting that first good tenant, that first good contract, that first good contact,
that's right,
leads to all the others.
That's right. Makes it so much easier. And just take care of them. That's the other thing, because you can blow that relationship too, right? So I just take very good care of them.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Moneeka, what kind of advice do you have for a lady who's trying to get that first deal done fast, or getting into corporate rentals, or in a hot market? What kind of advice do you have for ladies getting started?
So first of all, get yourself educated. So listen to podcasts like Whitney's, like mine. Mine's Real Estate Investing for Women.
Absolutely.
So make sure you're listening and getting educated.
Hold on. Moneeka's podcast is the #1 podcast in real estate investing. Was that last month, this week? When was that?
No, it was last month, but I've always been in the top 5 since the very beginning.
It's good quality content, y'all. Go subscribe.
Thank you. Yeah, it's Real Estate Investing for Women, ladies. So it's for us. And I say at the end of every single show, goals without action are just dreams. So get out there, take action, and create the life your heart desires.
Oh, I love that. Is that what's printed on your book?
That's not printed on my book. You know, Ashley, that's a really good point.
Can we put that on the next book? Can we do a collaboration on a book and put that on there? Because that is beautiful. That needs to be like printed at Hobby Lobby or something. That is fantastic. Say that again.
Goals without action are just dreams. So get out there, take action, and create the life your heart deeply desires.
Boom! I love it. All right, so get educated. What other advice do you have?
Find a really good mentor and a community. right? And this is something that both you and I have experienced. You need to make sure that you are surrounding yourself by people that are going to uplift you, give you good advice, and not fill you with fear, because fear comes easy. You really need people that are going to uplift you and help you to create the success you want.
Yeah, fear is cheap, but actual encouragement and feeling supported, that is worth its weight for sure.
Absolutely.
A good free place to join is the She Buys It Facebook group. There's a link down below. Moneeka, you still running a group too to encourage women to get started?
Blissful Real Estate Investor on Facebook.
Awesome. Very good advice and very well spoken.
Thank you. And thanks for having me, Whitney. This is amazing. I love our conversations. Just love them.
Well, thank you. Thank you. They're fun because you are the blissful millionaire.
Yay!
I love it. All right. Well, we will have you back on the She Buys It podcast. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. And if you have any questions for Moneeka, please reach out. Is there a website or anywhere else you want them to go?
Yeah, blissfulinvestor.com. And actually, if you want to see how I started with that $10,000 and went to multiple millions, I've got a download that's completely transparent. It'll tell you the whole story. I bought at the top of the market twice, just so you know, so you get to see what happens. So you can just get that download at blissfulinvestor.com.
I love it. Thank you so much, Moneeka. I appreciate it.
Sure. Thank you, Whitney. It's fun.
All right, y'all stay tuned. This was an awesome interview today. We've got another awesome interview coming up next week. So be sure to subscribe and come join the Facebook group, She Buys It. Anywhere you can type in She Buys It, go find us. And you're ready to get your first deal done fast. Let me know if you have any questions. Bye, ladies.